Ask the expert. Send us questions for Ottawa Physiotherapy. Today we're specifically speaking about running injuries. Live phone calls on the air if you have a good question. 613-789-6559, extension 2803. You can email us that question, probably the easiest way, ottawa.morning@ctv.ca. We'd love to hear from you on Facebook too, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. Matthew Pulikel is with me from Ottawa Physiotherapy and Sports Clinic, the president. Also, Peter Wade, who is here as well. And I want to say welcome to both of you. We're talking about running, which I think is probably repetitive injuries, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at?
That's what we're looking at today.
What do you deal with most?
We deal with all kinds of injuries, but today we'll talk about mostly running injuries. And like you said yourself, it's a repetitive one. We'll talk about the ones that have the pain around the hip area going down to the knee area.
So I've had this exact problem after running the half marathon last year. I actually had to limp it out for like 3 days, and then the whole side, my whole side of my body didn't feel right for about a week or so, a couple of weeks really. So what is going on there? Typically, I'm not saying with me at that point because we don't know, you didn't get a chance to examine, but typically what's the most common issue?
Typically there's this sort of bend that attaches from the top of the hip, sort of ilium, and then it goes down to the knee. So it would make sense that you'll be limping because it attaches at two joints that
is that the IT band?
That's the IT band.
I hate that IT
so
band.
that's what we're talking about today, the IT band syndrome. So that a lot of times the research shows that it's mostly a muscle imbalance that causes this IT band syndrome.
Okay, so it's a muscle imbalance. Does that mean one side's stronger than the other, or?
Actually, that means there's on the same side there's weaker muscles and stronger muscles, and then there's tighter muscles and sort of muscles that are not working properly.
So for me, when I had my running actually taken a look, they took a look at it as I went toward that. I was actually analyzed. And I think that my forward stride was pretty weak, so which tends to suggest that my hamstrings actually were not in the kind of shape that everything else was. Could that have led to it, you think?
That could have led to it, but the most, according to the research, the most thing that leads to that IT band syndrome is a lack of stability at the hip area, which would be a glute muscle, a muscle.
So posterior.
A posterior chain muscle. So it's mostly the gluteus medius that we've been talking about, the ones that are weak, and then there's the tightness of the IT
So
itself.
really, when it comes down to it, my lack of butt muscle really hurt me last year. Okay, so how do we train to avoid that?
So the training, it's a little bit hard because first of all we need to start by being able to isolate the muscle because it's not the gluteus maximus, which is the first one layer, and then there's a deeper one, the little glute. So that one you need to start by activating it. So any medical professional could guide you towards activating that. Once you learn to isolate it, activate it properly, then we can include movements with it.
So we're taking a look at something here. It's ITBS, which stands for what?
Iliotibial band syndrome.
Glad you said that. Good. And so we're seeing that is that the spot of pain? Those two spots?
You can see those red dots. That's where normally you'd feel the pain, but you can feel the pain anywhere in between those red dots as well, like in the middle part, the knee part, the hip part. So that's why the stretching the muscle, stretching the IT band is very important.
Okay. I've heard people tell me too that running on uneven road can lead to this problem as well.
Any kinds, like you change your speed, you change your pace, you change from running on a treadmill to running outside because now the weather is getting better. A lot of people, they're switching and then they're starting to get that. It's a different mechanics to run.
So the most common exercise I know is the foam roller. Does that help?
The foam roller, it's not necessarily an exercise per se. It helps in terms of it's sort of a massage. You're massaging the muscles. But if there's an imbalance in muscle, if there's muscle that are weaker, the foam roller will not help in terms of making the muscle stronger.
Okay, so that's where you come in.
Exactly.
All right. So if I dealt with this last year and I was running the half marathon again, I could come to you for preventative, I think.
Yes, you would. You could come for this aspect of strengthening and the stretching. Like, it's mostly for guiding you to running better and properly.
Which actually, correct me if I'm wrong, would actually improve your time, I think,
That's
too.
correct.
Yeah, because your technique is everything when it comes to running, and you don't want to expend wasted energy. At the same time, you could be improving your time and feeling better on the road. That's really where you want to be.
Exactly, especially if you're running longer distances as well, so then you don't limp for a couple of days after.
Fantastic. Coming up, we're going to talk about other issues when it comes to running. I know that race weekend is coming your way, and really running season is in full effect now. Send us your questions for Ottawa Physiotherapy. It is Ask the Expert. Live phone calls on the air, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. Ottawa.morning at ctv.ca or on Facebook, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. We're back in a moment with Ottawa Physiotherapy and Sports Clinics.